This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Radar, and I'm thrilled to be speaking with Monica Wyche about her role in 5 Days at Memorial. How are you, Monica?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Certainly. Can you tell me about your interest in and relation to this story?
Absolutely. I feel really lucky to be telling this story. I'm originally from South Carolina, and my father's side of the family is from the New Orleans area. So I grew up going down to visit family in New Orleans. And when Hurricane Katrina hit, my family was stuck there. I was a theater teacher in South Carolina, and when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, we lost touch with my family. We didn't know if they were alive or if they had drowned or what had happened to them. You know, there was no cell service, there was no power. Um, so personally, I spent a long time. I took like a week off of work just to be home and like focus this rescue attempt from far away to try to figure out what happened to our family. And coincidentally, this role came along in 5 Days at Memorial where I'm playing someone who is organizing a rescue effort to get somebody out of, hurricane stricken New Orleans. So it was really kismet, and it just felt so familiar when I got to read for this role.
Yeah, I think that's a very powerful part of this show is that there are a few different people who just see that things are happening, see that people are asking for help, and see that
Really.
the organizational structural things that should be happening, the responses that should be going on just aren't. And that's a very human
Totally.
element of the story that it sounds like is pretty true to life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we don't always get it right, but I think that people inherently are good people and we want to help one another, right? And if you don't see that things are getting done, it is, I think, human nature to jump in and try to help wherever you can and however you can. So I think that's a big theme of what's happening in the show, in the series.
And I think that aside from the foreboding introductions and interviews that are happening, you do see this odd sense of calm during the storm and then after the storm before
Right.
the levees break. And I think that that's very interesting because that's not the image that people have, I think, of what was happening
Mhm.
during that time.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the calm before the storm is a saying because it's a true thing, and it's not just about the weather or the climate. It's about you people's. Sorry, that's my cat. I'm sorry. It's about people's focus and just getting down to what needs to be done. Whether you are bracing yourself or like my family climbing into the attic and bracing yourselves for the storm that literally is coming, or whether you are these nurses and doctors in Memorial Hospital bracing themselves to take care of people the best way they know how, or whether you are somebody who is buckling down trying your best to find and help somebody in a really dire situation. I think that that's a really great observation, Abe, that calm before the storm that sets in. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had read that Sandra, who you play, actually thought that this would make for a good movie, which is interesting to me because I feel like there's definitely got to be a group of people who don't feel like this is the kind of thing that should be dramatized, that it's just so triggering to watch. How did you feel about that taking on this project?
Yeah, that's a good point. I wondered what my family would think about it because they have been in New Orleans their whole life, and they've been in Houston since Katrina hits. They've been in Houston for a number of years, but um, and they've expressed that it may be a difficult watch for them, but they're excited to see it, and they're excited, to know that I'm in it. But that's some life-changing stuff that happened to them. It's not a movie for them. I was so excited. Sandra LeBlanc found me on Instagram not too long ago, and she commented on one of my photos. And uh, I was blown away because during production, we were told, we were all playing real people for the most part, and we were told, don't reach out to the person. If they want to find you, eventually they will, but just give them their space. And so we did. I didn't try to find her or anything. But I was so delighted when she found me, and we have exchanged some messages back and forth. And she did say, that she and Mark, her husband, thought it'd make a great movie. And I think, wow, to have gone through that and to have gone through that disaster, that quest, that effort to rescue their loved one from this hospital, and then to have the the awareness to think, oh, this is an incredible story, right? Like when things are happening to you, you don't necessarily realize this might make a really good story. But thanks to Sherry Fink's book and the incredible deep research that she did and the hours and hours and hours of interviews, she got a really good story out of it.
Is that a challenge as an actress, being told don't research your role in that way? Don't go talk to that person?
You know what? Yes and no. I mean, so I did enough research I read the book, of course, and so that was incredibly helpful. And I felt like I learned enough about not just Sandy LeBlanc specifically, but just what that mission was. What that need and that rescue effort was. When you play somebody, when you play a real person, there's I think that actors, I can't speak for every actor, of course, but I think that I could put pressure on myself to, oh, do I need to talk exactly like them? Do I need to walk exactly like them? Like you look at somebody like Sarah Paulson, who has played many real people, and she does a lot of in-depth research and she works with a movement coach. She does all of these things. And it was a little bit liberating to not, do that with this, to just be Monica as Sandra LeBlanc, feeling these things and doing these things. So it was liberating, but I was curious for sure.
Of course. And so seeing from what I've seen of the show, the visuals are really very striking and terrifying. What was it like to film? How much of that is added after, or did you feel like you were really in this, terrible weather situation?
That is such a good question. So I shot in two locations. I shot in and around Toronto, and then I shot down in New Orleans. The things that we shot in Toronto were shot in this enormous tank, like the size of a parking lot. And I mean, it was a parking lot, and it had 4 feet of water in it, and all the crew had waders on, up to here. We're floating around in boats, and there are blue screens all around the tank. And so when you see it in the series, it's New Orleans all around the water. There's flooded water, but there's New Orleans right there. But it was surreal because we would come to work, and one day there would be the roof of a store and says, God help us on it. And then the next day you come and there's a baby doll floating in this tank. And the next day you go, there's an extra, or a stunt man rather, floating face down, and he's a dead body. And it's just, it was staggering. And you would think to be surrounded by blue screen, maybe you'd have to use your imagination, but there's so many other tangible elements that are in that environment, from the background actors to the buildings that are there, to the upside down cars, to the dilapidated hospital, fronts. It really was a taste of what the people of New Orleans went through. And I'm grateful that that my family got out unscathed. I mean, they lost their home, but I can't imagine really what it must have been like.
Of course. And is it fair to say that this project was substantially different from a lot of what you've done before?
Absolutely. A lot of the things that I've done before, I've been recurring on a few series. I was recurring most recently on a series on ABC called For Life, and I had like really nice clothes and really pretty hair and makeup, so it was great to play someone in a situation where that kind of stuff was at the very bottom of the list. We were covered in sweat, some of it our own, some of it sprayed on us, every day at work, and we were baking in the sun, and we were our clothes were dirty because we'd been wearing them for days and days, for 5 days actually. So it was a departure, but it felt really familiar, and it felt really comfortable, and it felt really good.
How do you feel about the limited series format where there's a closed sort of loop for the character?
That's an excellent question. I love this. So 5 Days of Memorial is 8 episodes total, and Sandra and Mark LeBlanc's story wraps up after episode 5. So the first 5 episodes are days 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 after the storm hits, and then the last 3 episodes are more of the fallout and the investigation and things like that. So I like that, without giving anything away, I like that our storyline wraps up really nicely a little bit before the end of the series. I felt satisfied with it. Yeah, and happy to be part of it for sure.
What do you think will surprise audiences most about this show?
Oh, wow. I've seen the first episode. I saw the first episode at the premiere in LA a couple days ago on Monday this week, and it is staggering. There's a lot of computer generated effects that are very, very realistic, and it's intercut with a lot of actual news footage, actual news reports, actual video of the damage and the demolition and the storm and the levees breaking and all that. So to see something that was real interspersed with something that was created, they blend together really beautifully, and it's terrifying, and it's a lot. What I think people are going to come away with, I hope, is the sense that the human spirit is determined and strong, and people come together and people do their best to help one another and get through really, really horrible times. And I think that's the biggest message that I take away from it.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have anything else coming up that you'd like to share?
I just shot an episode of an upcoming series for Hulu called Saint X. It's based on the novel of the same name. So we shot that in the Dominican Republic, and that stars Betsy Brandt from Breaking Bad. So I had a nice scene with her not too long ago. And I'm doing a play here in New York that opens in mid-September called Scab at Premiere Stages. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a 2-hander. So it'll be nice to be back on stage again.
Wonderful. Well, I wish you plenty of luck with that. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to speak with me today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Abe. It was nice to talk to you.
You too. Take care.